Hi, and thanks for joining us for Education Omaha, a show produced by the students and staff of the Omaha Public Schools. I'm Kaylin Watson with the OPS District Communications Office. On today's program, we'll meet the new OPS Superintendent, Mr. Mark Evans, and learn about his goals for the school year. But first, let's take a look at some of the happenings around the Omaha Public Schools. Burke High School recently converted its practice football field into a helicopter landing pad for an afternoon. The Omaha Police helicopter, also known as Able 1, flew in to provide a lesson for students in the Aeronautics and Space Focus program. Two police officer pilots spoke to the students about how aerodynamics apply to a helicopter and gave the students a tour of the cockpit. The students are dually enrolled at Burke and the Aviation Institute at UNO.
It's a really good opportunity because if we were to go on into the college level, we already have basically like the first kind of crash course in the field. So I think it's a really good opportunity for students, especially if they want to go into aviation.
This was Able 1's third visit to Burke High in support of the aeronautics program. OPS elementary students had some special guests join them for lunch in October. Firefighters with the Omaha Fire Department visited nearly 30 elementary schools in honor of National Fire Prevention Week. The district's Nutrition Services Department has organized lunch with the firefighters for several years as a way to bring community leaders into the schools to interact with students. Bryan High students recently embarked on a project to help end hunger and poverty around the globe. Students in the Urban Agriculture and Natural Resources Career Academy teamed up with volunteers from Farm Credit Services of America to develop real-world solutions to food security issues. It's part of the Howard G. Buffett Foundation's 40 Chances Challenges program. The teams created 60-second commercials that summarize a new solution to a food or nutrition-related challenge in their community. Those involved say the project exceeded their expectations.
It's not just a regular event. You get to put your idea and try to end world hunger.
It's been amazing. A lot of folks will tell you that you can get surprised when you're working around students this age because they come up with creative and innovative ideas. And I've been blown away today. Even coming in with the hope and expectation that these students would have the creativity that I would expect, they've gone above and beyond.
The students' commercials are part of a national competition. The public will be able to vote online during Global Entrepreneurship Week in November, and the winning team in each category will earn $10,000. Students from Beverage Magnet and UNO's International Language Program explored Africa together using the world's largest map of the continent. The map is part of National Geographic's Giant Traveling Maps program. It measures 26 by 35 feet and serves as a giant game board to introduce students to features such as the Sahara Desert, the deep forest, and endless savanna. Students say they like the unique approach to learning more about geography and map reading.
We're able to play games, like with the rings, we'll go find what country it is. That's helped me know where each country was at.
I've learned about many different countries in Africa, about their cultures and about their people and their society.
Beverage is a magnet school for global studies. The MAP activity is one of many collaborative projects planned between Beverage's international studies students and the UNO language students. Jocelyn Elementary celebrated River City Roundup at the school in style. Students and staff gathered for a special assembly where they wore Western gear and danced to country tunes played by 5th grade teacher Michael Pfeiffer and a couple of other musicians. The annual River City Roundup party is a decade-long tradition at Jocelyn. Local runners got their glow on during Bryan High School's first ever Glow For It 5K walk and run. The school's yearbook staff organized the event to raise money for the journalism department and the Children's Hospital and Medical Center Foundation. Here's OPS Career Center TV broadcasting student Chloe with a closer look at this fun run.
On Saturday, September 28th, Bryan High's yearbook staff helped put out a 5K run that had an interesting theme. A run that allowed you to glow in the dark.
Since we found out it was a glow run, we just wanted to have something that was as bright as our personalities.
It wasn't the competition that sparked this event, but the way that everyone wanted to give back to the community in a way different than the typical fundraiser.
I feel like this is a little bit funner. I mean, it's not just like you sell something to someone. It's not like just buying something. You're actually getting an experience out of it, and it's making memories as well as a profit.
With this being the first ever Bryan High School 5K, this is just a start to the great cause.
Right now we know it's going to be small, but we're going to have at least 100 participants, I think they said. So next year we're going to shoot for doubling it. So little by little, every year, make it bigger and bigger.
This is Chloe reporting for Education Omaha.
The Glow For It run attracted about 100 runners. Organizers hope next year's event will draw even more. Students at Chandler View and Mount View elementary schools have a fun new way to stay active. The schools received outdoor and indoor fitness equipment from Project Fit America. It includes 7 outdoor workout stations, including pull-up bars, a horizontal ladder, and climbing poles. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska and the Omaha Schools Foundation partnered to sponsor the program at the schools. Students say they're looking forward to the new fitness games and challenges the program provides. In addition to Chandler View and Mount View, 10 other OPS elementary schools host the Project Fit America program. 4 OPS teachers received a surprise gift from Office Max in early October as part of the company's 7th annual A Day Made Better program. Office Max employees visited Beth Turner of Central Park Elementary, Derek Nero of Lewis and Clark Middle, Kayla Book of Gateway Elementary, and Katie Shearer of Adams Elementary to present them with more than $1,000 worth of classroom supplies. The teachers were nominated by their principals for demonstrating passion, dedication, and innovation in the classroom. When the Omaha Public Schools kicked off the 2013-14 school year this fall, there was a new leader at the helm. Mr. Mark Evans began his role as the new superintendent in July and has been hard at work ever since. Today, we'd like to introduce you to Mr. Evans and talk to him about his vision for the school district. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
It's my honor, my privilege and pleasure.
Well, thank you. Let's start off by talking about your background in education. Can you kind of give us an overview about your career in the education field?
Oh, certainly, Kaylin, certainly. I've got over 3 decades of experience, and I think some of the crucial experience that relates to the OPS story is that I spent 20 years in WPS, Wichita Public Schools, serving in multiple roles as principal, deputy superintendent, interim superintendent, and Wichita Public Schools is a mirror to Omaha Public Schools. Kind of interesting. It's 50,000 young people, just like Omaha. It's approximately 80% free and reduced with a very diverse population, very similar to Omaha. So I kind of feel like on one hand I'm in a different spot, but on the other hand I'm in the same spot that I've been in before and for most of my career. So that's a really nice piece about my history. The last 8 years I've served as a superintendent in a fast-growing suburban setting, so it's a much different setting, much smaller setting. It's approximately 6,000 students. Of which over my 8-year tenure we were able to see dramatic growth in student achievement as well as some recognitions for other activities and programs that we built in that school district, which the nice piece on that is it gave me an opportunity to take those same system building skills that we used in Wichita, apply them to a setting where I was actually in that smaller setting responsible for the implementation of those programs and all of the supervision pieces that go with leading and guiding 11 schools. So I've kind of seen it from the big district, from the mid-sized district, and now I'm back in the big district, and I think it's a nice marriage of experiences and opportunities.
Great, yeah, it sounds like it will all translate well to your new position here. So
we're betting on that. We're betting on that.
Well, and I know you've had a lot going on here in your first few months as superintendent. Why don't you kind of tell us about what your goals are for this first school year?
That's a great question. Coming into the job, and in fact I shared with the board when they hired me way back in January, which is hard to believe now. We're 10 months really into since I was hired, although officially I didn't become an employee till July 1. I've been a very interested citizen for 10 months and was involved in meetings with staff and meetings with community, even while I was completing my superintendent's job in Kansas. So I started out with the whole goal was to assess and learn all about the district, from student achievement data to all the enrollment trends, graduation trends, anything that had to do with this district and how it operates. And then I moved to listening sessions and starting to learn from the community, from the internal staff, of which you may have been a part of some of those sessions where I, one, presented a little bit about who I am and what I want to see happen, which is part of your question. And then ask everyone else, what do you think I need to do? Because I want to know what folks think is important from their perspective, from the superintendent's role. I also asked them to identify what were the strengths and weaknesses and challenges of our district, because that really is part of what helps me determine my vision of where I need to go first, is what the internal participants say, what the external community says. And so when I look at it, there are some folks that say, well, what's the one thing you're going to do, or what's the one piece you're going to make happen, and how's that vision that you're going to make happen going to go into place? I always look at it as, one, obviously I've got this big picture of we want to have the most successful urban school district in the nation, and I believe we're well on our way to doing that. But the other part of the vision is it's got to be a collaborative vision. It can't be just Mark's vision. It can't be just, this is what Mark Evans wants to have happen. I think that's the critical component that we sometimes miss. It really has to be a combined vision, which is why, as you well know, we've hired an external consulting firm to lead us on a strategic planning process, and as we speak, they're doing interviews across the community and across the district. And I think that's a real critical component, is I want to know, what do you want as an employee in this district? What do our students want, who, by the way, are helping us with this program today? Very impressive, gentlemen. Appreciate your work today. I think that becomes part of the vision. And my experience is 90% of what I think should be the top priorities, whether that's student achievement, technology improvement, facility assessments, whatever that is, 90% of what I want is probably going to bubble to the surface anyway through this process. And by allowing the process to work, instead of me superimposing my thoughts, perspectives, priorities, what ends up is buy-in and support for the plan, and it's going to be much more successful than me just dictating, here's my vision, here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to implement these targets and strategies. I think you have to be real careful on that. So the big picture is, absolutely, I want the best, the model urban district for the United States of America, and I believe OPS can be that. But underneath that is, really, to get there, I've got to have buy-in, I've got to have support, and we have to collectively decide what are the target strategies and how do we create accountability to reaching that target of that high-performing district that meets the needs of every single student.
Sure, and you started touching on the strategic planning process here, and as many of our viewers know, we have hired a consulting firm to assist us with that process. Can you kind of describe briefly like what the time frame is for the strategic plan, and perhaps what are some of the key emphasis areas that you anticipate coming from that? So.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Right now they're in the data analysis phase, where they're doing kind of in a much bigger and broader and much more complete way than I did when I was hired and did some data analysis. They're doing a much more complete, thorough method of that not only includes all the district data and all the achievement and enrollment trend patterns, everything else, but also they're actually doing over 200 classroom visits with experts they've brought in from outside. They're doing focus groups where they're meeting with specifically members of our community, members of our parents, members of our teaching staff, and asking specific questions. They're also collecting data through community forums that will occur later. And all of that's pretty exciting too, to see that data they're going to collect. And that's going to complete by, we should be completed with that by the start of November, something of that nature. And then from all of that collection of feedback and data analysis, then we go into the targeting and the goal setting phase, which will create steering committees that say, well, if this is where we want to go based on the data we have in front of us, what are the programs and plans to help us reach those targets? And so that will be kind of phase 2. And then eventually by February, 1st of February, end of January, we should have a complete document that shows, here's the primary targets and goals for our district, here's the primary strategies and implementation pieces that will help us reach that, and by the way, here's the timelines for accountability, where we're going to check to see. And actually, this is interesting too. We hired that same group to come back on an annual basis to check us and to make sure and hold us accountable. Did you do what you said you were going to do, Mr. Superintendent? Did the plans that you guys talked about to help meet this target, were they implemented? And by the way, did they make a difference? Which is critical.
Correct. Well, thank you for that overview. And
sure.
I'm sure our viewers appreciate knowing kind of what the process is here and what some of your goals are for your first year or so.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for being on our program today. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Education Omaha. To learn more about the great news and events happening in the Omaha Public Schools, please visit us online at ops.org or ops.org/OPSWebTV. We'll see you next time.